Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today with Coaching Conversations. I am Kate Caravella, and I am one of the co-founders and executive coaches with Breaking Forward Coaching. We we do a series called Coaching Conversations where we interview some really cool people who have really cool jobs and have sometimes have challenges with said jobs throughout various industries. So there's not industry specific. And today, Paige VanTassell was gracious enough to sit down with me and to have this coaching conversation. So hello, Paige, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm flattered and honored to be here.
So a little bit about Paige. She is a writer and co-producer on an Emmy award-winning Netflix animated series called The Dragon Prince. And she just wrapped up some work that she was doing with Nickelodeon as a writer. Paige is named one of the International Screenwriters Association's top 25 screenwriters to watch in 2021. And her work has been as a semi-finalist at the Austin Film Festival and the winner of a Series Fest Storytellers Initiative. So, Paige, as a young person, you have done quite a bit in your career thus far.
Thank you for calling me young.
You're welcome.
You can end the interview there.
Can
Uh, yeah, I've done a couple things.
you tell us a little bit about what you've done and what you are doing? And
Yes. So I mean, all the things you just listed make me sound great. And then in the middle of all those things, there's been a lot of grunt work and writing scripts that go nowhere. And but overall, I'm a TV writer. I also dabble in features from time to time. And like you said, I've written on mainly two shows that are both animated. One for Netflix called The Dragon Prince, and one for Nickelodeon called Rock, Paper, Scissors. And yeah, it's a it's a hustle. It's a hustle and a half.
well, and going back, because one of the things that I know about you is that in college you were pursuing a medical degree.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit more about how you shifted from that to do what you're doing now and how you ended up making the decision to pivot and to end up in California and what decisions did that how did it all come together?
Well, in high school, I was obsessed with the show Scrubs. And I thought that meant that I should be a doctor. And then I'm very stubborn. So every year I was like, okay, I didn't love Gen Chem, but I'm gonna love Orgo. Okay, I didn't love Orgo, but I'm gonna love physics. Okay, I didn't love, but I'm gonna love bio. And then at a certain point, I was like, I think I just don't like this. And it was my junior year. I was like mid-practice MCAT, and I was like, I think I don't want to do this, which is terrifying because I don't like quitting things. Um, but the realization was I liked Scrubs for the television series and not for the medical content. And that's like kind of putting it simply. There's obviously more than that. I'm very like right left brain balanced, I think. I think
Mhm.
a lot of writers are because especially TV writing, it's almost like a math equation. You might say like
Yeah.
formulaic.
Oh, okay.
Well,
So
it's like especially comedy. There's so much rhythm to it. There's so many patterns. Um and then like seeing where something needs to go and having to sort of work backwards and sort of build out certain things need to happen to make this resonate. So you have to sort of be creative but also be really organized and see patterns and be able to, you know, get to that solution at the end. Um, and some shows are more formulaic than others, but generally we're all like working off like a three-act structure and different components have to come in. So it's very like, formula based, which is fun. Yeah.
so you made the decision, you
Yeah.
pivoted, you ended up in LA. You're from the East Coast, you're from North Carolina.
Mhm.
And what went into that decision? Like what were some of the barriers you encountered?
Well, after college, I had taken one screenwriting class and I was not ready yet to move to Los Angeles. So I was still in the sort of like, I could do this, but I'm young, I have options. So I moved back to North Carolina, lived with my parents and then my brother for a time. and there was a lot of production happening there. So I worked on like a really crappy Kate Beckinsale movie that has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Um, as a locations assistant, I chased around young starlets on paper towns as a set as PA. I've done like pretty much, I feel like every job you can do in the film and TV. I've unclogged toilets with big sticks. I have gotten Cara Delevingne breakfast burrito, all the way to writing, which I'm doing now. But so I've seen how it all works. I think it's very helpful to go through all those steps. Um, so I did that for a while, and as I was doing that for money a little bit, I was writing, and I need people to tell me that I'm okay. So I submitted to contests, and I was doing well in the contests, and I was doing online classes. And once enough people told me that I was okay, I decided to move. And my moving to LA, I knew nobody. But I got my job, my first job in a very classic LA story, which is somebody that I swam with in high school, went to college with somebody who was friends with somebody who was working on a job and knew they needed another PA, which is production assistant. And because I had some experience in North Carolina, I now had like a resume for it. I applied and I got the job. So, uh, yeah, here I am now.
And you recently, right? So and here's the other piece to this too, is like you recently pivoted again, meaning that you're still in your career, you're still
Yep.
working towards this. But you also made some pretty significant life decisions. And this is going to, for everyone who's watching, this is going to tie into um, how with coaching, working out those decisions and how to move from point A to point B and just making those transitions. And then how do we work towards life work balance? So can you share a little bit about you were in LA for how many years?
8.
8 years. Okay. And now you're not in LA. So
Yeah. I'm still going back a lot, so it's not quite a clean break, but yeah, I moved to LA when I was 25, and I it was great for me to be there in my 20s. Um, I was in my say yes era and doing improv classes and meeting cool people and doing all sorts of stuff. But at a certain point, you want to sleep more and you hate sitting in traffic and you miss trees and it's hot. Um, and you see a different future for yourself. You know, when I moved out there, I had these, I would now call them delusions of grandeur of, you know, selling a show and being a boss and having a big house in the hills, and as you get older you realize that what you want changes. um so pursuing a quieter life, being okay with not making it to the top, sacrificing some of those wants for the life I actually want, led to me and my fiance moving up to Northern California, where there's lots of big trees and it's really lovely. And I've been working remote for the last 5 years, so we think it's
so
just
that transition wasn't horribly difficult for you.
no. Yeah. Yeah. Since COVID, a lot of shows have been on Zoom. So yeah. So we'll see if that can.
So you're seeking trees, which we can see in your background, you have, and a little bit of nature. And so Paige, what I know about you, and I'll share is that you are a person who really likes to be busy and you're productive and doing things, and your career is really, really important for you. And it was cool being in your 20s in LA, and now you're like kind of looking to kind of mesh those two things, still pursuing your dream, right? And also paying your bills, but also being able to stay connected with LA and the people in LA, but being able to breathe a little easier in an environment that is a little bit more conducive to what you also want.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You nailed it.
So when we were talking earlier about being really being busy and being productive and continuously working towards your dream, how do you work on the life balance part of things? And like, what are some of the challenges you personally experienced?
Is the cat distracting or
Not even a little bit. In fact, I think the cat is like, hey, my name is
I
George. I would like to be also be on coaching conversation.
I don't even notice the cat. And then I'm like, should I shoo away the cat? Um, the cat will be around. Um, oh gosh, what was your question? I'm so sorry.
Oh, balance, right? Like so,
Balance.
so
Mm,
your environment is more conducive at this point to balance.
yeah.
And I know historically that work-life balance has been a little bit difficult for you or challenging for you. So how have you navigated that? Like, what are some of the challenges that you've had with being able to balance out both of those equally important parts of your life?
Yeah. I mean, it is difficult. I, like many people, in my industry is primarily freelance. So even if you get a great job on a show, I was on the Dragon Prince for 3 years, which is crazy. And that was an amazing time and a great place to like learn and grow. And but most jobs are a few months, 3 months to 8 months, kind of in that range. So you learn to collect jobs and you learn to seek jobs for the between job period, and you're always just juggling the jobs, which is tough. Um, and I'm someone who can be a bit anxious, so I think I'm not good at sitting in like the silence of like, when's the next job? So instead, I'm like a squirrel and I hoard jobs. I have all my little job nuts, and then if I lose a couple job nuts, it's fine because I have storage.
You're best.
Yeah. Um, and that leads to me who also wants to do yoga and go for walks and run a marathon and join a club and
Swim
volunteer.
team.
Is what?
In a swim team. You want to
Yes.
swim.
Yeah. It tends to creep into those areas and, consume them pretty quickly. Um, So yeah, it's difficult for sure. I'm still figuring out how to do that. I think being up here does help only because in LA, you spend so much time getting to places. I don't know, there's so much to do in LA. It's such a good thing, and then it's also kind of a curse where it's just like, well, I mean, if Beyonce's at the Rose Bowl, I kind of have to go.
Well,
Versus
you kind of do in that particular
It's
situation.
true. It's true. And it's cool. And there's a lot of cool stuff to do. But I don't know. Up here there's less to do and people go to bed at night and it takes 5 minutes to get a place instead of 2 hours. So there's just like I think moving up here there's just more built-in time and the vibe is just different. People aren't like rushing to the next thing and, looking great and going to parties. People here haven't brushed their hair in hours, or not hours, days, hours.
Hours. There are a bunch of hair brushing people, apparently.
Every couple hours they're brushing their hair.
Some people meditate when they brush their hair, so that's not
Right?
completely out. So your environment
Yes.
is providing a something that you feel like you had been missing. Does that the quiet and the non-rush and having more time, is that helpful as it relates to your creativity?
I
Or
think so.
find it stifling, or like how does that work for you? Because I know that's a big part of what you do.
No, a friend and I were talking about creativity because she was like, I don't know, am I still a writer? I haven't had any ideas. And I'm like, you haven't had any ideas because you've had so much on your mind. Like some people I know in LA are dealing with like cockroaches and I don't know, there's just always like stress or, car accidents, traffic, whatever it is. There's stress and there's stuff on your brain. And what I've realized, a lot of my moving process was driving like 12 hours back and forth from Northern California to LA. And when your brain is bored, it seeks interesting things, especially if you're a creative person. So if your brain is never bored, I think that you might never have, ideas. And I was telling you about how last night I went to bed and I was laying in bed finally after like a day of crossing off my list. And I was like, all right, I got this thing in the morning. I gotta go to sleep. And instead my brain was like, but what about this funny idea? And oh, from that, there's another funny idea. And then I had to like begrudgingly like, take off my eye mask and reach my phone and go into my notes app and write down insane things that won't make sense in the morning probably, but it's like when your mind is at rest. So I think up here, because there's just less stimuli, there's less noise, There's less cockroaches. There's
A lot of hair brushing, apparently.
a lot of hair brushing, but that's meditative. Um, there's,
So I hear.
there's just like a lot of space for your brain to, I think, chill and seek the next creative adventure it wants to go on. Yeah.
So here's a question for you. You know, I know that, for a lot of people who aren't familiar with their industry, right, or that creative kind of thing just doesn't play out the way it does for you.
Yeah.
I would imagine that there's some people in your life that are like, what is she doing? And then there's probably other people in your life that, what is she doing? And keep going. So I'm not going to ask you who those people are, obviously. I was just wondering who supports this process for you? Like who in your life is like, yeah, like helping you make decisions or giving you feedback or coaching you, mentoring you.
Yeah. Um, I mean, obviously my fiance is a huge uh support system. And he's very honest, which is a double-edged sword because sometimes I want to hear things I want to hear, but it's good to know like when in my creative endeavors when I'm making a choice, if he thinks it's a good idea, he will be honest about. Um, and then as far as like mentorship, I mean, it can be difficult in this industry because you're usually on a show for a short amount of time. Those people kind of come in and out of your life, and they're also hustling and very, very busy. But my bosses from the Dragon Prince have been pretty like consistent, stable people in my life, which has been really awesome. And like I said, during that time period where I worked for them, what I loved about that show so much was that there was room to try, to fail, to, not only write, but also, direct actors in the booth doing their voices, doing their characters. Look at the edit and give notes on the timing and the characters' faces and all this stuff. So there was room to explore and to become more a part of the process and to learn. And it was okay if you didn't get it right the first time. Um, so they've been really cool and have taught me a ton. Um, but yeah, mentorship in this industry, like I said, it's hard because people are all struggling, especially right now. It's a tough time right now. So
They're up for a lot of people, obviously, too. Yes.
yeah.
Paige, I thank you so very much for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it. And I love the transitions that you're making and I love the steps that you're taking. And it's just really cool to hear about your experiences. So thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.